welcome to Character Explorations, a podcast production of the Wendt Center for Character Education at the University of Dubuque. I'm Annalee Ward, the director of the Wendt Center, and our guest today is Mary Bryant, Assistant Director of Media and Programming at the Wendt Center, with degrees in biology, theater arts, German, and comparative literature translation. That's an eclectic background.
I didn't want to leave college.
She is a co-author, along with Pamela Crawford, of Homesickness Goes to College, Virtues, Vocation, and Growth. This article is available online at dbq.edu/WENDT. That's dbq.edu/Wendt. Welcome, Mary. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, for anyone who has left home and gone off to school, this article might strike some familiar notes. And it sounds like you've spent a fair amount of time in school. Mm-hmm. So could you share with us perhaps a memory of what feelings you experienced going off to school, or what that evoked in you?
Absolutely. Despite the fact that I stayed at college a long time, I was not prepared for it. I was incredibly homesick. I felt unmoored. I didn't have any of the people I was used to being able to count on, any of the familiar surroundings. It was very disorienting for me.
I imagine not everyone is willing to admit to feelings of homesickness, but you have argued in this article that it's a common experience, even historically. Where do you see it in history?
Well, we actually see it in history and religious documents, as well as literary documents throughout the last couple thousand years. There were the Israelites in the Bible begging to return to Egypt, crying through the Babylonian captivity, crying for home. There were also, they have found records of students at Oxford writing home about their homesickness hundreds of years ago, as well as there was a Roman soldier in Egypt writing home saying, "Why haven't you written me? I miss you so much." It's just, it really is a human experience, though some experience it to a more severe degree than others, or some might have different coping skills to get them through it.
Well, how might this common experience impact student feelings at college?
There was a Harris poll in 2015 that surveyed first-year college students and found that students were experiencing anxiety, loneliness, depression, and extreme concern for family back at home during their first term at college in very high numbers. And 60% of first-year students reported wishing they had been given more help in preparing emotionally for college.
60% of students, that is, more than half of our students are homesick. Those are difficult emotions to navigate. Might those have any impact on how they do at school, or on their GPA even?
Yeah, yes. Another survey, a MapWorks Fall Transition Survey of 2014 to 15, found that those students that were suffering from distress related to homesickness had lower GPAs than the students who were suffering less distress due to homesickness. A significant difference. And also, fewer students that reported being homesick returned to college for the second semester than those who weren't homesick. And that trend actually continued into the second year. So it really does factor into their academic success and whether they return.
Retention rates are something schools are always concerned about, and rightly so. Well, how can schools respond? This sounds like an epidemic.
Yes, and it would be right for schools to respond, is what we are arguing, because it does impact the colleges. They've invested in the students they recruit, time, money, but also colleges invest in students even just as people. It hurts when people leave and struggle like that. We're arguing that schools should engage in comprehensive education that includes moral formation and vocation, and they should adopt an educational philosophy that nurtures growth so students can learn the tools to find their way through homesickness and other challenging times that they experience in life.
That's a big job. How does a school consider how to be formational in their response in a way that would impact homesickness?
Well, institutions can also include programs that support good character and help develop virtues such as perseverance, hope, courage, self-discipline, and grow resilience, the sort of tools they need to cope.
So you're talking about schools' response in terms of formation, and you mentioned some virtues, and you also mentioned vocation. How does that sense of vocation contribute to getting through homesickness?
When you have a vocation, a purpose in the world, it can be very anchoring. Having a sense of the world around you and your place in it, even if you haven't yet developed the new relationships that make you feel like you're at home, it can be very grounding and help you cope. Brian Dick and Ryan Duffy are researchers in the area of vocation and have found that people who found their calling, their vocation, are happier and find their lives more satisfying. And service is a part of their definition of vocation.
Certainly, to have that connection to a bigger picture.
Exactly.
Would give that kind of drive, that telos that they're aiming at. So how can schools be formational in their response to students?
Schools can teach growth mindset, which is Carol Dweck's work. That helps students be motivated and develop new skills so they can recognize that they can improve their own situation. They're not stuck.
So when I think of growth mindset work, I think of the classic example is mathematics. If someone has been told, or gotten the message, I'm just not very good at math, that's not an example of growth mindset.
Right, and someone who thinks that way is less likely to improve.
But if they're told, you just haven't gotten it yet, as in, we believe you can grow, we believe you can learn this, maybe at a different pace, that's growth mindset, right?
Yes, and people with that growth mindset are more likely to eventually succeed in that area. So schools can teach that. They can set high academic standards and provide tools to help students reach the goals that they have, as long as they make the effort and have realistic goals. And they should also have a nurturing environment that allows students to make mistakes without fearing humiliation or terrible setbacks if they fail. And that encourages growth and resilience and grit, which is Angela Duckworth's work, that kind of comes off of growth mindset.
So these sorts of tools contribute to students' resilience, this growth mindset, grit, nurturing environment, and that kind of resilience gives them the power, the strength to work through the homesickness. Is that what you're arguing?
Yes, and yes, tools to cope with not just homesickness. There will be other challenges in the future. Our focus, though, is homesickness.
You gave an example of one school's approach to whole person education, and that example was our university here, the University of Dubuque. Can you share a couple of ideas that you have seen at work here that you believe helps with homesickness?
Yes. First, we have the Wendt Center for Character Education, where this journal and this article came out of. Here we promote a campus culture of excellent moral character and purposeful lives. We work with faculty and staff. We have character building in the curriculum. We work with athletics. Also, First-year students identify their strengths as a way of empowering them to respond to the world's needs and help them in their search for their vocation. We have the Bridge program that supports first-year students who need some extra help transitioning into their first year of college. Also, community service is a requirement in a number of courses here. And also, UD has a caringly intrusive philosophy. It's a system of trying to catch problems early, identify at-risk students, and intervene with a care team that's trained to respond to a variety of matters, and then follow up and make sure that the student is doing well.
Thank you for bringing up the example from the university here. Of course, you and I believe in this, but we want to share the kind of work that's being done here with others. So, any last words for us?
Colleges need to be engaged in formative moral education that emphasizes virtues, vocation, and growth, because whole person education empowers students to overcome homesickness, grow, and thrive.
Well, thank you for your work on this topic and the challenge for all of us in education to be more concerned with the whole person. Our guest today has been Mary Bryant, and I'm Annalee Ward for Character Explorations from the Wendt Center for Character Education at the University of Dubuque.